So I want to stick to the real crazy violence that's happening in this world. This mayor is waging a war against the most vulnerable people possible you can find. It's like finding the Tooth Fairy and they punch her in the face. That's pretty much what Eric Adams is doing. He's not.
Or he is the Tooth Fairy and he's delivering punches to the face. You put a tooth underneath the pillow. He flies in through the window and punches you in the face.
So Eric Adams says he's kicking homeless New Yorkers out of their encampments. Where will they go? So NYPD and other city agencies are participating in a major sweep to clear out homeless encampments around the city. So just weeks after embarking on the campaign to boot unsheltered New Yorkers out of the subway system, Eric Adams says he's removing their encampments from the streets as well. So at a fundraiser, usually that's why you want to kick homeless people out of the streets when you got a fundraiser. At a fundraiser, Eric Adams told the New York Times that city agencies would identify the encampments, offer residents homeless outreach services, which is not a shelter. That's not like, hey, you got a home for you right now. That's like, fill out this application and wait 90 days. Put that.
So you want to hear something really funny about all of this? So I talked to a friend of the show, Louis Rossman, and he talks about this fairly often on his streams. And the thing that he finds to be very interesting is that it costs the city somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 a month per homeless person.
Oh, homeless person.
Per homeless person in the shelter. Now, even though we've got really crazy high rents, right? You can get a studio apartment literally anywhere in the city for that money. Literally.
Yeah, you can get it.
So it's less expensive to house them. It's less expensive to house the homeless people.
But that shows
than
you
it is to put them in those. Basically, it's like a slaughterhouse. They just put them in pens, let them harm each other out of desperation and despair. But it's cheaper to actually put them in housing, even here in one of the most expensive cities to live in the world.
I want to put this. The mayor didn't give any details. That's the thing. Like,
nope.
You want any details on those healthy conditions?
Yep.
With wraparound services. This is what.
We're going to give them these services, but the only thing that we saw is them putting people's belongings in the trash.
So that's the thing. So that's the question. Why do people rather? That tells you about the shelter system. People rather sleep with the rats in a subway bench than be in these shelters. Like many unhoused New Yorkers avoid congregate shelters due to restrictive rules and unsafe conditions. And supportive or subsidized housing options are difficult to come by with long wait lists and lots of red tape.
Lots.
I mean, they want your DNA patterns. They want every penny, every dime, and you're homeless and have no fucking address. That might be a little more difficult to do all those cross all those Q's and
Yep. So
the mayor's spokesperson did not say that encampment inhabitants are given written notice 24 hours before being removed. So
what the fuck is that gonna do for them? Here's a piece of paper. Oh yeah, it's cold tonight. It's 28 degrees. Like that's how cold it was last night in New York City in March. Yes. I can use that piece of paper to get a little bit warmer.
So advocates for the unhoused say that simply breaking down encampments would do more harm than good, and it says city agencies need to provide safer and more private shelter options. If you want a mental health crisis,
called an apartment. Private shelter. It's called an apartment.
If you want to exacerbate a mental health crisis, you go and harass homeless people and throw away everything they ever have. That's what you do to make.
And see how many people get pushed in front of the fucking subway train now. So but we're going to blame them. We're not going to blame the circumstances the desperate circumstances that we keep putting them in.
So sweeps and policing are not answers to unsheltered homelessness. That's obvious, but not obvious to a lot of people because it seems to be happening all the time. Without expanding access to the types of shelters and housing people want and need, Mayor Adams' latest initiative will fail to address the reasons people sleep on the streets and will harm an already vulnerable community. So this is crazy. And relying on congregate shelters to absorb the people placed by his plan, Adams is acting against COVID-19 infection control. So that's what you want to do. You want to shove people back into these shelters during the pandemic, which is like, people, you pretty much killing people.
Yeah, because think of it like this too, right? Homeless people are desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. Now, imagine putting a bunch of desperate people in there with other people that they know are desperate, and now they're living in fear constantly because they know that the person that they have in the bunk next to them is as desperate as they are. And desperate people tend to do desperate things. So now you're on heightened alert. Now you're in constant fear. And now you're even more desperate than you were because you're in an environment full of desperate people. Like, do you know what would happen if you take a bunch of hungry rats and you put them in a container? They start attacking each other.
And this is the craziest stat right here. People experiencing homelessness are more likely to be victims than perpetrators of crimes. We just had a serial killer roaming Washington, D.C.,
and New York City,
shooting 5 people, killing 2 homeless people.
Some of the people he attacked was here in New York and then went to D.C. And he's not the first. We had 2 or 3 of these serial homeless attackers right here in New York City.
So far, 22 unhoused New Yorkers were killed in 2021. 22, more than double the previous last year. Doubling the figures. It's like, let's get these numbers up.
But we don't talk about those people that have been harmed. We only talk about the homeless people that shove somebody who is in an apartment. Then we care about the homeless when they commit a crime of despair or desperation. But what happens when they're the victims? It don't make the news. Not like that.
No, that barely made the news. It only made the news because the guy was killing a lot of them. That's when they found out, the guy's killing 5 of them. So he's trying to kill 5 of them. Maybe we should talk about that now.
Yeah, we don't care about one homeless guy, but if you're killing like 7 of them, wow, we can sensationalize this by, hey, we've got a serial killer, folks. But still, it's not about the homeless people.
It's like a podcast you listen to, So I want to play these shocking clips that we have in New York City that totally got blotted out by 2 rich guys on stage on Sunday. This was actually what's happening during those days. This happened, I think, this was March 28th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to play this clip.
Yeah, sanitation, right? We're cleaning up the city of these poor people. Look at all the effort and manpower and money they're putting toward this.
Gas prices is high now. You rolling down around. That's like 1 mile a gallon right there.
That shit is 1 kilometer a gallon, son. Yep. Put. Yo, she don't need to be standing back that far. Stop looking at us destroying people's lives again. Because remember, we're not talking about people who had good lives. You're just picking on people. You're basically kicking them while they're down. That's what this is.
So that's just one video. And then the most shocking one, which happened, I think, it might have been, I think it might have been today or it might have been yesterday. So another one along the BQEs. This was a systematic. Actually, I go to classes in Williamsburg, and there actually was an encampment where I go to. That encampment is gone. It's like it's parking spots now for people. So I want to play those clips. Those clips I actually see them pulling the tents and homeless people talking about their fucked up situation. So I want to play this crazy clip right here.
They found a way to take the nothing that they don't have. Oh, and do I need to point out the obvious? How many of these people that work for the sanitation department, if they didn't take a job like that, would be in an encampment right along with those other people? You know how many people are this fucking close You know how many people are this fucking close to being in that position? All of these people talking shit about poor people, they lost their fucking minds when the gas prices went above $4, didn't they?
Yeah, people were losing their minds. Like
they were losing their fucking minds. Oh, I can't make ends meet. You are closer to these people than you are to those people at the Academy Awards, folks. A house fire could put you there. Your job just, basically wanting to go to a cheaper place in the country.
Or even this cutting your hours might fuck you up. All kinds of things
might
put you in a situation just like these people.
Messiah, when we were in the homeless shelter in 2003, were we unemployed? Were you unemployed?
No, we were working. I was working.
We were working, right?
Sometimes I work like 2 jobs at the same time sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, and the number is probably higher. But before the Rona, 4 out of 10 homeless people employed, getting a W-2 with no address.
Oh, shit.
You're like, hey, we'll destroy other people's stuff as long as it's not my stuff.
They're putting your shit with like spoiled milk and fucking old used diapers and shit. That's where your shit is going now. So that was one clip. I actually have an interesting clip of someone being interviewed.
This is why when we play clips of politicians in China telling the U.S. to mind your fucking business when it comes to human rights and human rights records, that America has no leg to stand on. That's the kind of shit they're talking about.
So this one actually has an interview with someone who doesn't want to even have his identity shown because, his life just got thrown in the trash. So,
Yeah, because you got to have the police there to make sure that nobody puts up a fight when their belongings are being ripped from them and thrown literally in the garbage. I also wonder how many of these sanitation folks have been homeless before. Got to be at least one.
They're shoveling your shit. I'm telling you, that old dirty snow.
Yep.
So I think
those are regular people that decide to get up and kill, or hurt, or rob and steal. It's not the homeless that do that, or it's not only the homeless. Like, you're kicking us while we're already down. So now
I just fucking said that.
Shelter system. It's like there's people bidding. It's like they're in prison. You got people trying to claim stuff, and people like, yo, you can't walk through here. Like, bro, you serious? Like, we're not in jail, bro.
Yeah, he's talking about the shelter. He's talking about what happens when you go to the men's shelter.
Somebody very close to me, they were promised an apartment. They were promised an apartment last July, and then October came, and they said, by November. And then before you know it, they shipped them to the ass end of Queens. And what they do is every time they make a promise, they say, well, we can't do this. We need a document. We need an updated document of a document that we already asked for. And we're going to ask for that same document, but there's got to be a new date on it and a new signature. And we're going to keep pushing it off, and then keep getting you to get more of the same documentation over and over again so we don't have to help you.
And that's what the red tape they're talking about, the loop-de-loop red tape you have to do to get housing.
And you know what happens to homeless people, right? They tend to lose vital documents like birth certificates.
I mean, when
security cards.
people are shoveling your shit into a back of a garbage truck, it's gonna be hard to keep your documents. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be hard.
And then they'll use that as an excuse to not help you. Oh, but you need a social security card. Where is it? Oh, you need a birth certificate. You need this. You need an address. Hey, homeless guy, you want an apartment? We're gonna need an address.
So
for us to send the next documents to.
So before we close up this segment, I want to show this dark timeline we're in with this New York NYC sweep alerts. We have a Twitter account now. The alert if you're homeless and have a phone, which now that's the thing. Oh, you have a phone? Well, you have a phone, you're homeless. You're gonna say that now, like so. Our account was created. You
got a free Twitter account. You're wealthy. You don't need any help. You got a free Twitter account.
So this account was created in response to the crisis in NYC. There's an account right now to let people know.
Yo, show that banner again. Yeah. You see that arrow? That tail arrow is pointing to where he's planting evidence on people.
So this is the flyers they're talking about, the 24-hour notice that you get to let you know that they're gonna throw your shit out. So it says, and this is from beginning on single, and it tells you if you have access to DHS shelters, which is like these nightmare places, you want to check it out. Or we're gonna shove your shit. So this is what they post up, and so I just want to show that before we close up this segment. This is what's going to happen. So we can keep an eye on this story because it's pretty much it's a 2-week campaign. It's not a 2-week campaign to help kids get iPads. So it's not a 2-week campaign to make like a 2-week sale of apartments. Like all of a sudden, studio apartments are $1,500. There's nothing positive like that. It's a total negative campaign of like disposing a whole group of people. So.
It's basically, just spending a lot of time and energy trying to harm people who are already at rock bottom.
So that's it won't be the last of Eric Adams news. We're probably going to keep on going until he magically changes to a whole nother person. We'll see how that goes.
No, he's gonna turn us into a whole nother person before that happens.
So this is Black Power Magic Hour. You can follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, act.tv, and then Dr. Genius, he's talking shit and playing games on Twitter, Twitch, Discord, YouTube, and that's Politics as Usual, shoveling homeless people off the street edition.